Back on the SportsMax Zone, match day 6 in the UEFA Champions League got underway earlier today with 8 matches at the San Siro in Italy. AC Milan welcomed the red-hot Liverpool on a 5-game winning streak. For Milan to advance to the knockout round, they needed to win this game and then hope that the result in the Porto Atletico clash went their way. We have those highlights.
And off we go then, Liverpool all in yellow and kicking from left to right. Corner dinked into the near post. Alisson had to make the save and Milan have the lead. Minamino just misses it as Romagnoli tries to get a touch. I don't think either make contact and Alisson has to react. He can only parry. Tomori's on hand. Young Morton. Nico Williams. The ball, Milan go to a 5, drop off to a 5, Oxlade-Chamberlain fisted in, Salah! 1-1. Brilliant the way Oxlade-Chamberlain gets away from Kesse, moves the ball away from Tonali, and then the parried save falls to Mo Salah, and there's absolutely no doubt that that's going to end up in the back of the net, and that he's made look an easy finish. Well, they certainly got to up the tempo of Milan. They have to win, they can't afford mistakes. And Mane's in here, Maignan with the save! And the rebound knocked in by Origi, and Liverpool with a second string team lead the Serie A leaders by 2-1. Really has been an outstanding Liverpool performance. Nothing more than they deserve. And again, a superb finish. He needs to have a good long look at himself. Gomez with the throw. And Liverpool make history, the first English team to win all 6 European Champions League group games. Look at the smile.
Well, 2-1 the victory margin there for the Liverpool team, as we said, going into the match with a 5-game winning streak. 15 goals in those 5 matches as well, so they've been scoring a lot of goals, this Liverpool team, and they were unsung again today. So what happened in that game at Portugal between Porto and Atletico Madrid? Let's find out.
And away we go. Oh, we'd love to get on the end of this. And it comes from the mark. Kondogbia is there! And Antoine Griezmann scores for Atletico Madrid.
Griezmann certainly not offside. He does actually react well to it. Oh, it's a defender that flicks it on.
Here's Luis Diaz. Otavio in there too. It's going to be a throw-in for the home side, and Carrasco doing a good job by hanging on to the ball, of winding everybody up, and now it's all got a little bit unnecessary on the touchline.
It's a red card. He's given a red card.
There is a red card shown by the referee, and suddenly it's all kicking off in the Dragao. Appeals from the home crowd for a penalty kick, but Atletico Madrid on the attack. Sturdy challenge on the touchline, and Wendell getting involved, and one of the Atleti players going down. And we're not seeing the best of the Champions League now in this second half.
Well, of course, Atletico Madrid want Wendell sent off. That's what it was all about.
Oh, and that's exactly what's happened. So they're both down to 10. Madrid to break away. They've got the ball right where they were on it, and now Angel Correa surging forward. He can seal the deal here. Correa! It's 2! Job done, Atletico Madrid. Challenging with Mbemba. He's got the better of him. Is it going to be 3? Yes, it is. Rodrigo de Paul has the final word. Johnson and Mbemba trying to get back at him. Oliveira with the initial block, and Mbemba couldn't get to the second shot from Rodrigo de Paul. Vieira trying to force the issue. It's Vitinha with a shot from just outside the box. All hands on deck here for Atleti. And there will be a penalty right at the end of the game for a challenge by Mario Hermoso. Sergio Oliveira with the penalty, finds the bottom corner. It was perfectly placed. Porto on the board, but for them it is too little, too late.
So Atleti getting the result they needed there. Joining us now, former TNT international Brent Sancho to review the action in the group that we just looked at, and Liverpool coming up trumps as they were destined to, and Atleti, Brent, getting the result they needed, even though domestically they haven't been that hot in Spain recently.
You're being quite generous, lads. Quite hot. It's probably a lot worse than that. But no, Simone is a type of manager that has been getting these types of results to just sneak into the knockout stages of the Champions League. And today was really about results. It's decision day in Champions League. And Atletico Madrid, of course, went into Portugal and got a positive result.
Yeah, Liverpool champions in the UEFA Champions League 3 seasons ago, Brent, and 100% so far in the group stage. Of course, things get tougher after this. But your thoughts on their bid for a championship title, which would be their second in 4 years?
I must admit, lads, despite the fact that I did think AC Milan was quite poor, especially what we knew what was at stake for them, Liverpool, with the changes that they would have made within the squad, and of course the type of personnel that played, and that Phillips and Konate at the back, for example, were colossal in the centre of midfield, and young Morton in the middle of the park for Liverpool as well had an excellent football game. But all in all, the school of thought behind Liverpool was still there. The way they approached football game was there, and they dominated for the majority of the game in the San Siro. So it was a good result. One of the things I must say, lads, I am a bit concerned for Liverpool going into the African Nations Cup with the players that they would lose. But I think from what I saw today with the youngsters coming on board and putting in quite a good performance, you would have to suggest both in the Premiership and, of course, in the Champions League that Liverpool looks like they are one of the favourites to move on into those phases.
Yeah. And speaking about favourites, I want to talk a bit about Divock Origi, his first goal for Liverpool since the 2019 final. What do you make about his performance as of recently? Is he improving?
Well, let me first say this. I think his character is excellent. A player of his ability, you would suspect, should be getting a lot more playing time. He's not sulked. Not once you've seen him, of course, shaking down doors, trying to go to another club or any other situation. But what he's done is fully understand the situation in Liverpool. He's playing in his team, arguably one of the best forwards in world football in Mohamed Salah. And when he has gotten the opportunity, he has not only just played well, but he's scored important goals. And for me, you have to have strong character, Mariah, to do that. There's so many players that, of course, not getting the type of playing time that they would want. They would sulk, and of course, their standards would drop. But Origi certainly one of those players that is extreme, and I must say, is extremely important to the Liverpool cause. Has shown his worth every time he steps on the pitch.
Yeah, his first Champions League goal. Of course, the Liverpool fans will be hoping that they can get more goals from him. Brent, I'm going to move along now to Manchester City. They suffered a loss against RB Leipzig, but I know we're going to be talking about that later in the show. They still finished at the top of their group.
Yeah, they still finished at the top of the group, but I'm one of those. I'm a big Pep Guardiola fan as a manager. I just marvel at the fact that he can keep a team so motivated to win things for such a long period. But today, Mariah, was a bad day in the office for Manchester City. One of those rare ones where a lot of the players weren't at the races. One of them, of course, Kyle Walker being sent off eventually. It was a very disappointing result for Manchester City, and more importantly, a very disappointing performance. Yes, not much is at stake for them, but I think, again, when you talk about somebody like Pep Guardiola, who have high demands and expects high standard from his players, he would be utterly disappointed as to what he would have seen today. Nevertheless, they're going on to the knockout stages, and you would have to suggest that they're thereabouts for winning the Champions League when that time comes.
Yeah, Brent, stay right where you are. We still have more to talk about on match day 6 in the UEFA Champions League. We go to break, and we'll be back after this.
Full results from match day 6, the first section of match day 6. PSG beating Club Brugge 4-1, 2 for Messi, 2 for Mbappe. Leipzig down in Man City 2-1. Liverpool went to Italy, came back with a 2-1 win against AC Milan. Ajax 4-2 against Sporting Lisbon over there in Holland. Dortmund blanked Besiktas 5-0. Atletico Madrid 3-1 over FC Porto, a game that saw 2 red cards. Real Madrid beat Inter Milan 2-0, and it was 1-all score between Shakhtar Donetsk and the tiny team from Moldova, Sheriff Tiraspol. So with first and the second place already decided in Group A of the Champions League, the only thing that mattered was who would clinch the Europa League spot. RB Leipzig knew that the spot would be theirs if they could stop Pep Guardiola's Man City.
Actually, the captain trying to pick a pass. And that's a fine ball as well. Through to Szoboszlai, who's in, and he'll score here for Leipzig. Before guiding the ball into an empty net. Forsberg now has a chance to do just that. Andre Silva in the middle, and Kunku far side. Andre Silva makes it 2. Leipzig will be going through to the Europa League, that's almost certain now. That's a nice ball in, and Manchester City do have a goal back. Zinchenko with that early ball in. And after the bounce, it just sat up nicely for Mahrez to attack, who stooped low, but directed his header perfectly. Campbell. Angelino. Manchester City dominating the ball, we expected that. And a bit of a coming together here as well, which the referee has to separate. Andre Silva and Kyle Walker going head to head there. And the referee going to his pocket. Oh, and it's a red card. Manchester City down to 10 men. But there is no more time, and RB Leipzig get themselves a famous and important win against Manchester City.
RB Leipzig stronger than Pep Guardiola's Man City. Much changed Man City, it must be said. The likes of Bernardo Silva and Gabriel Jesus did not travel to Germany for that game. And Brent, we have lauded Pep Guardiola for his management of the team, the way he has almost every player performing at peak of performance on game day. Not today, though.
Yeah, not today. It was a strange type of performance by Man City. It's certainly not what we are accustomed to, or what we are accustomed seeing from them. As I said, I've given them a lot of plaudits throughout the season, and every season for that matter, for the standards that Pep Guardiola has been able to keep. But today was a real off day at the office, so you tend to wonder, of course, a game being played without the fans, if that was a factor. But you have to give RB some credit in what they were able to do. They were very well drilled and disciplined, of course, losing their manager over the course of the weekend in the American Jesse March. But the performance still from Leipzig was a gutsy one. And I think they were full value for the 3 points and the victory today.
All right, I wanted to pick your brain on the Kyle Walker situation, because a player of his experience, of his quality. I mean, Brent, well, you did it. You were a top professional for many years. If you're going to kick a player and get red carded, at least give him a proper kick. What Kyle Walker needed was he wafts at Silva, and in that, I was saying to myself watching the game that sometimes players can be like children. Children do something sometimes that frustrate parents. This is a player doing something that frustrates his coach. What was he trying to achieve with that tackle?
And it's one of the things that Pep Guardiola has spoken about as relates to Kyle Walker. And he just recently, over the last couple of days, he was heaping praises on him, how he's come along from where he was before. But certainly, this was a dive. But what I don't understand about it is two things. First of all, foremost, a suspension now means he misses, of course, the whatever leg. It might be 2 games. We don't know what the suspension would be of the knockout stages. And then secondly, why do it? Why then? Why just, as you rightly said, why just kick out like that? It made no sense, especially in the day and age with VAR. especially in the day and age where, of course, everything is recorded. It made absolutely no sense. I have no words to describe it, and I feel really sorry for the manager, not so much Kyle Walker, because I think it was silly, but for Pep Guardiola, you know, hamstrung his team from a selection perspective into the next game that they have coming up.
Yeah, some coaches would go into the dressing room and give him a rollicking. Others would give him the silent treatment. I think Pep will do the former. Let me ask you about PSG, because while watching their game today, Brent, I was exchanging messages with Simon Evans, our good friends. And I started the conversation by saying, Simon, this might sound weird to you, but watching PSG play and looking at the individuals they have, strangely, it is my conclusion that PSG as a collective, Brent, lacks the quality to win this Champions League if the big teams play as we expect them to. Simon says, George, I can't agree with you more, even as we were watching them beat this Club Brugge team 4-1. What say you on that?
Yeah, and it became a lot more apparent when we saw them against Man City at the Etihad. You can't have players that refuse to work or take passages. We all know in world football, it needs 1 through 11 to put in the shift defensively. More importantly, we see it at Man City, of course, a perfect example of it. We see it at Bayern Munich, another perfect example of it, and we see it at Liverpool, a great example of the type of work rate that is necessary. But when the likes of Messi and Neymar, Di Maria today, and Mbappe refuses to do their duties defensively, and I have to call these players out because those are the ones that are leaving the rest of their team short as it relates to that defensive shape and what is necessary to win this championship. You have to wonder how far they could go. And again, George, the question marks to me lies at Coach Pochettino. His demands. I am very sure if Pep Guardiola was coaching this PSG team, we would not see those types of performances.
Yeah. Let's talk about a team that doesn't get a lot of press, but we have to talk about them now. Ajax. When I was looking at the game schedule today, Brent, I said to myself, I must watch Ajax on Sporting because guess what? We're going to be guaranteed goals, and I want to see how Sebastian Aller gets on, the Ivory Coast international, who starred for Frankfurt in the Europa League. West Ham bought him. He didn't deliver for them, but now he's setting the Champions League alight. His goals today means his tally is now 10, and he's just one of only 3 players in Champions League history, Brent Sancho, to score 10 goals in the group stage of the competition. Talk to me about him and whether this Ajax team are to be feared by those awaiting this Champions League knockout round draw on Monday.
Well, if you look at the stats, it says a plus 15 goal difference and 18 points. And if you're going into the knockout stages, you certainly have to be very wary of Ajax. For me, easily, guys, the team of the group stages, Ajax has been. It's a team going into a group stage, of course, with Dortmund and maybe Sporting being more favoured ahead of them. But credit Alex Ten Hag before even going to Haller for what he's been able to do in shaping this team. They're doing it at the domestic side of things, and they've certainly been scintillated at the Champions League stage. And of course, backed by that man Haller and his goals and what he's been able to do. His movement has been, of course, exquisite throughout this Champions League, and that's one of the things that I've liked about him. But more importantly, I think the collective that is Ajax is a team that no team going into the knockout stages would want to draw.
Yeah. We also saw Atletico Madrid going to Portugal and getting that result. I don't know, the team, I don't know. I've seen some teams go stale under coaches in the past, and I think looking at Atletico Madrid, I'm seeing another one. That said, what they've shown us so far this season across all competitions, they were showing us some of that last season, and they went on to win La Liga, although some people would say La Liga isn't all that, and wasn't all that last season. But they got the job done, Brett. We should be crediting them, but somehow I'm finding it hard to credit Atletico Madrid at this time.
Yeah, and you're correct, and I feel the same way. They're very fortunate because you'd have to add in the fact that AC Milan was woeful against Liverpool, and really AC Milan should have gone through. They should have sewn up that game at the San Siro, but they didn't, and of course, Atletico goes through. And you have to wonder, George, when they are to come up against one of the top teams, whether it be Man City or whoever it may be, you know they're not going to get away with what they've been able to get away with so far in the season. They've struggled, really. And they're very, very fortunate to be in the knockout stage. But albeit, there are some talented players in the Atletico Madrid side, and they do have a talented coach. And you hit the nail on the head. You have to wonder if The team is now starting to get stale under, of course, Diego Simeone, and whether or not a change is needed at Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, Lance would love this one that Toni Kroos scored for Real Madrid, their opening goal in that 2-0 win against Inter. The 1,000th goal scored by Real Madrid in European Cup competition. Of course, no other club would have done that. Let's look at the fixtures for the second half of match day 6, Brent. So we have Juve at home to Malmo, Chelsea on the road, they go to Russia to play Zenit, Villarreal go to Italy to play Atalanta, Bayern Munich are at home in Germany, Barcelona, the visitors, Barca must win. Dinamo Kiev are out, Benfica can drive a nail in Barca's coffin by just winning this game and hoping that Bayern Munich takes care of business. Young boys, they beat Manchester United in the first fixture. Ralph Rangnick's team, though, will be much changed. Dean Henderson will start in goal. They host Young Boys at Old Trafford. Sevilla go to Salzburg for that clash, and Lille, they make the short trip from France to Germany to play VfL Wolfsburg. Talk to me about that Bayern-Barca clash. Xavi needs 3 points. You've seen Barca, you've seen Bayern Munich. Any chance that the Spanish team can get the result?
They can, but I do have a bit of fear that it could go completely wrong for them. As I've said before, Xavi is still trying to mold his charges. I mean, he certainly himself as a manager is trying to mold himself into his identity as a manager and what is necessary. And they're coming up against a Bayern Munich juggernaut. And let's be frank, Bayern Munich never takes their foot off the pedal. And that's my concern, that they're not going to come into this with their laurels relaxed. They're going to go for the job. That's all they know. That's how they play football. And I think if Barcelona has one of those days, which they've had under Xavi, they could be in some problems. But that being said, I think if they are, solid defensively, most importantly, they could get a result. Getting a victory in Munich will be very difficult. But however, it's a game that everything is there to play for.
Yeah, good for you that we don't have enough time to talk about your Juventus, because I suspect Malmo will be fancying their chances going to the Turin Stadium to play Juventus, because you are not in good form at all. Let's look at the games that we can see on SportsMax tomorrow.
I think sports. You never have a chance against Juve right now.
So if you're watching SportsMax 2 tomorrow, you can see Man United at home to Young Boys from 3 p.m. Benfica at home to Dinamo Kiev on SportsMax. You should have two devices playing those two games, because they are important games. Chelsea's fans will be able to see that game with Zenit live from 12:45 p.m. 1:45 outside of Jamaica. So we have you covered with the big games. And yeah, the producer says break. Thank you very much for your time, Brent Sancho. That's what we have for you at this time. Champions League continues on the Home of Champions on Wednesday.